The
Ready.
other side of us. Hi, guys. Welcome to TCCW Live. We are here with Ryan Rash, anxiety coach Ryan, as you might find him online in Instagram. And we're going to get right into it. So, hi, guys. Welcome, Ryan.
Thank you.
Hey.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good to be on. Good morning, fellow carnivores.
Yes, fellow carnivores. So, Ryan, I'm sure some people have, but I'm also sure some people haven't. Why don't you start off with giving us a little bit of background of how you ended up in the carnivore space?
Yeah, so it started about 2.5, 3 years ago. I was a junior in college and started experiencing some really bad anxiety, panic attacks, OCD, like those kinds of symptoms. And set me on a whole rabbit hole of health. You know, I realized that what I was putting in my body really wasn't making me feel good. And, you know, it kind of just woke me up to kind of nutrition, and like a lot of what we're told isn't necessarily the best for our bodies, like teaching us a balanced diet and all that. And it took me a lot of trial and error. I tried all different types of supplements, different types of food, and it just like nothing really stuck. I started seeing improvement once I started eating more red meat, which was towards the end of my senior year at college last year. And then once I went full carnivore, it was just like the mental clarity, the brain fog goes away, like everything that people talk about in terms of mental health, like really saw improvement. I also had really bad acid reflux, so like realizing that a lot of plants didn't really do well for me. So yeah, that kind of led me to where I'm at today, and it's been night and day difference from the worst.
Awesome. So what was the first thing that you found or discovered in necessarily finding carnivore? Like, did you come across somebody or did you happen to just like read something in, or how did you even discover carnivore? Because I know I kind of tripped into it myself a little bit.
Yeah. I think I've always been one to watch like more like, you know, videos like off the beaten path, like conspiracy videos. And like, I think part of that led me to like doing more research into like the raw primal diet. And that kind of got me into like a more mainstream like carnivore diet. But I like during this time that I was going through the mental health issues, I spent years just like watching any type of health content. And a lot of it was just on like supplements or stuff like that. Um, you know, I got really big into like meditation, breath work at one point. So like all of it is kind of like led me to that, and then started finding, you know, the top carnivore doctors like Baker, Barry, like all those guys. And, you know, hearing their reasoning really made me be able to justify trying this, even though of course it challenges everything that we've been taught.
For sure.
Yeah, back when I first started getting into like elimination, it was a long time before I ever got into carnivore. I had really bad anxiety as well, bad depression, and my diet was like the worst kind of abomination you can imagine. I was chugging probably a case of vanilla Diet Coke a week, drinking sugar-free Red Bulls constantly because I was working in a casino, so nothing was monetized in the casino because it was all free to the guests. So, you know, if you cracked open a Red Bull, I mean, they didn't know if it was for you or the guest or whatever. So I was just, and then all the fast food and everything, the anxiety was terrible. And then I went to my doctor and I told him, hey, I got an anxiety, doctor. And he's like, you want some Xanax? First words out of his mouth. Not like, how's your diet? Are you sleeping? Are you exercising? You want some Xanax? And he gave me some Xanax, and that was like the worst thing in the world, because like it was great while you were having anxiety, and then when you came off of it, not being on the Xanax gave you anxiety again. So it became like self-fulfilling almost. You had to take the anti-anxiety just to deal with the lack of the anti-anxiety pill. It was awful. So, you know, cutting out the aspartame, learning about the aspartame and the what they call excitotoxins, which aspartame is one, MSG is another one where it excites the neurons in the brain to the point that they are damaged or they die. That was a big step in the right direction, but there's a lot more I had to go besides that. So obviously I'm carnivore now. Everything's gone and everything's good now. So.
Well, I think it's really interesting. We don't talk about it enough that, so many people actually suffer from, a certain amount of anxiety and depression, right? And we and a lot of people don't even know they have it. And a lot of us, like I had it seasonally, right? Like it used to be typical late February, March, get a little depressed, a little fatigued, didn't want to get out of bed, like no motivation. And, and even when I found carnivore almost 9 years ago, I started in December, and it was actually until April where I realized, hey, I didn't go through my regular, kind of mood in the toilet and, not wanting to do anything. And the fact is, people really don't think of the aspect of food, right? Like, Stephen, you mentioned it, your doctor, when you go in, they never ask you about, your activity. They never ask you about what you're eating. They never ask you sometimes about the bigger stressors. And there is food stress, right? Like we basically stress our body through food. It affects basically our digestive system. It'll affect our nervous system. And we have heightened responses of basically anxiety and depression. The medication really doesn't look at the root cause, really doesn't fix it. And it's amazing how many people just, get into the lifestyle and just eliminating these foods that stress our bodies, the high sugar foods, the high toxic foods, the highly processed foods, even the amount and the consumption. That's another thing we don't talk about too. Like we were never really, as animals, as humans, designed to eat an abundance of food constantly, and the body is stressed and we get those reactions, right? So I think it's something that, moving forward, we should actually really be talking about more food stress, how it affects the body. And like, it's been nuts. Like I've had hundreds of clients over the last decade that, depression, anxiety within months of, starting the lifestyle. Yeah, massive differences. And for the simple fact, eliminating those foods stressing the body, adding the foods that are basically going to heal it. And it's simply fantastic. And it's amazing how many people have no clue, right? It's just, they're told you're going to be on this bed for the rest of your life to basically manage, this ailment, which is just ludicrous, right? So awesome.
So when you started transitioning over, did you have any issues or concerns that happened with your transition? Like I know some people have, like some physical detox experiences or anything like that. Did you have any issues that came up during your shift over into carnivore?
Honestly, not when I first started. I first started maybe around October, November. Actually, recently I've been trying, instead of 3 meals a day, I've been trying 2, and that seemed to give me a lot less energy. So like the past couple of weeks, I've been dealing with some energy problems, and I was like, okay, wait, I'm not eating nearly as much as I was at the start. But when I first did start, it was pretty smooth. Like energy shot way up. Like I was able to get so much done at work. Like the anxiety went down so much. What other benefits did I notice? Pretty much just the energy and the anxiety, like just the mood. I think like having like a sense of euphoria from time to time is like really cool, instead of just like always being sad or something. So that's the basis of what I've seen.
So how long have you been carnivore so far, approximately?
It's been about 5.5 months so far.
Nice.
So let's you mentioned your mood, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think that's important to talk about it, because people really don't understand when you regulate your hormones, your mood's great, right?
Yeah.
When your hormones are unregulated based on what you're eating, it's funny how you're night and day, right? Like you could be high as high, you can be as low as low, right? And I think with people like, all of us who've had a little bit of anxiety and depression, it's one of the hardest things, right? Is kind of regulating that mood, being at that certain position. And, and even I know for me, it was being in my old life, basically, managing a bunch of people, it always worried me that, I had to be at this high level when it came to functioning and in a great mood. And there was days going through that position where like, I'd rather, have all these negative thoughts, and it's just, it's alarming sometimes, right? So if you can talk a little bit how you kind of noticed just your mood changing and how that affected you overall would be awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of it had to do with like my attitude towards work. So like I'm a freelancer and I do marketing, so it's like I don't have like a set schedule. I kind of have to be like a self-starter. So like I think the mood is like, okay, I'm more motivated to actually get stuff done and not just like sit in bed or be tired. Like I think mood goes hand in hand with energy, because I notice when I have no energy to like go for a walk or do something fun, like my mood definitely dips. But I think just like having a more positive outlook on life, just be like, wow, like I'm excited for the day today. I'm excited to, even if it's to do work, like I'm excited to do work. I think that's the biggest thing. Yeah, just being happier, like happier, content, maybe doing something that you wouldn't normally want to do, I think is definitely a big transition that I felt. And I think it's a lot of it is lifestyle changes, like graduating from college to being now working. It's like now I'm starting to accomplish what I wanted to accomplish. And I know that it's not just about diet, but there are lifestyle things that affect your mood. But I think carnivore is the catalyst that helped me do it. Because of course, if I was eating the same way that I was always eating, like I wouldn't be able to get the stuff done. I wouldn't have accomplished what I accomplished now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, people don't realize
Absolutely.
how bad sugar and carbohydrates just affect the brain, the gut-brain axis, and all that. It's people don't really think about it too much. They just think it, might make them fat or whatever. But it's debilitating their cognitive function as well in a lot of ways.
Well, so Ryan, like you just recently graduating, being in university, if you think
Yeah.
prior to carnivore, being in university, going to school, like, and most individuals I know, and when I was there, like we utilize stimulants, caffeine, sugar, nicotine to get through our day, right? And and those things once again really affect our nervous system, and that just heightens those responses. Like, before carnivore, if you look back at your life, would you recognize that you were using a lot of those things just to function throughout your day?
Actually, so up until when I started getting the anxiety, I cut out the caffeine, but like, so I was a lacrosse player out there all throughout high school and part of college. So like lifting weights pretty much every day, training very hard, put a
Nice.
lot of stress on my body. So like caffeine, like throughout high school, I was doing like a scoop of pre-workout at like 5 p.m. And of course that can't help you. So I was doing caffeine a lot until I started getting the anxiety about my junior year of college. But I think the worst is the drinking, just like drinking twice a week and knowing the effects it has on the gut microbiome, which of course impacts your everything about your body, especially your mood. I wasn't big on like the nicotine or other stimulants, but definitely just the drinking and just having that, mess you up. And then I think like of course the excessive workout, like I was lifting weights and doing hard cardio like almost every day a week, and clearly I wasn't fueling my body properly. So I think that like over time did some damage on my body.
Yeah, that
And
all
What have
affects your
you?
testosterone too, especially as a man. Like, all the drinking, especially if were you drinking a lot of beer?
Yeah.
Yeah, beer is when they make the hops is like probably the most potent phytoestrogen in the you can consume in the our typical food supply. It's absolutely horrible. So when your testosterone tanks, a lot of men, like a lot of people in the fire department that I'm in, they're on TRT right now. They're younger than I am. They're on TRT, and they're like, "Oh, I feel great." I'm like, "Yeah, you feel great, yeah." But because your testosterone's tanked, but like none of them consider that they could eliminate the things that tank their testosterone and let it come back naturally. Because God forbid you stop drinking beer and eating, especially down here in the South, the slop that they eat down here in the South is just absolutely terrible. So probably had a lot to do with it as well. You know, cutting of the alcohol and your testosterone return. You know, your testosterone in particular has way more to do with what you don't consume than what you actually, you know, add. You know, like, you know, what do I eat to raise my testosterone? It's more about what you don't eat.
Absolutely. I personally, I don't have like an anti hormone replacement therapy perspective. I do believe that there is a place and a time and a purpose when it can be utilized to help you go above and beyond, but not at a young age. If you're having to be put on TRT or any kind of hormone replacement before you're like mid 30s, and I even question that early, but
Absolutely.
a lot of them are getting on it before their mid 30s, and you're like, you're 25, you're 26. Like, this should not even be a consideration yet. You should not even be having to consider this unless you're trying to, dare I say the word biohack, because I'm not a big fan of that, but unless you're trying to, you know, optimize yourself to further accentuate. Because I know, like, for myself, after going through all of the BS that I went through, my hormone balance was like a freaking roller coaster. And this wasn't without a bunch of garbage in it. So it was like when I had my surgery, 6 weeks after I had my surgery, I got pregnant with my son. I was 38 years old. My body already was like, what the hell are we doing? You just completely, you know, invaded my system, which was already a hormonal concern anyways, because it was a thyroid system. Now you're adding a baby, right? And based off of the, you know, almost 25 years of crap you did to it, guess what? We're in a questionable hormonal state. So when I came off of my pregnancy and my 2 years of breastfeeding, I did take hormone replacement therapy for a while to help my body kind of get back to a place of homeostasis, you know, like okay, we can kind of settle in now and function. But I'm going to be 42 this year. And I honestly could tell you that without doing that, it would not have been as easy for my body to recover with the carnivore diet as it did. Because I was already so like roller coastered. So I do want to kind of just put my 2 cents in that, like, I'm not completely against it. It can be helpful. It can be useful. It's just, if you're going on that stuff extremely young, there's a problem. There's a problem.
Well, I think when we're in this space, you know, we're anti meds, we're anti supplements. So we sometimes lose the fact that there is a time and place where we can utilize these to basically help in transition. The goal is to basically get healthy enough where we can basically be supported through food, right? And that's an absolute. Like, I've had clients basically that, yeah, they're on meds that helps manage their system, but we get them healthy enough that they get off them, right? Same with supplements. Sometimes there's a benefit to utilizing a supplement based on a deficiency to help person transition. They get healthy enough, we get off them, right? I think sometimes, yeah, we bear down, we basically say, no meds, you shouldn't take anything, blah, 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 just eat, right? But sometimes that might take a lot longer or it might not help. And so, yeah, I totally agree with you 1,000%. I just think it's super interesting that like it's nuts, right? Like let's just talk about, you know, some issues. Like, for example, I have 2 current clients right now. One's 18, one's 19, one's in full menopause, one's perimenopausal. Like, that shouldn't happen, right? And the first thing they want to do is just drugs, put them on all these meds. And I'm like, you know, if you were maybe 40 or 50 and it was really bad, we could start there and then work on it. But when you're that young, you're basically just training your body systematically to basically be dependent on these meds, right? And even the fact that we're seeing people in their 20s, 30s, you know, with these symptoms, and it really goes back to their nutrition. Same thing with testosterone. It's crazy seeing guys in their adolescence and teens and 20s basically with next to nothing, but really comes down to what they're putting in their body and what they're not putting in their body, right? Like, those two female clients, 18 and 19, when I looked at their lifeline, both of their moms are basically chronic low-fat dieters. So what happened is both of them from an early age, 7, 8, right? For a decade now, they've been doing low fat, low fat, low fat, not getting the good saturated fat, giving them those healthy cholesterol for hormonal balance, and they're in this position, right? Brian, I want to, you mentioned the other day about, being positive in your mood. That's kind of a carnivore joke, right? Like, what's the difference between a group of carnivores and a group of macros? The carnivores, they're all happy, they're smiling, they're positive. And it's because we're eating basically steak and eggs every day and chicken wings, where the macro people are always basically in a deficit, always craving, always have, wishing they would want something, right? So I totally get that.
Hangry.
Yeah, angry. Well, it is like, how many times do we go on these, these lives or the podcasts? Everyone's smiling, everyone's happy, everyone's in a great mood. And you watch some other places and like people are just monotone, right? And it's like you really don't think of it. And it comes back to, you just said, your energy, your mood, like they're all linked, right? Hormonally, your mood's linked, your energy's linked, your sleep's linked. So when those things improve, your digestive system, when those things improve, it's hard. Like, I tried to think the other day because I had a conversation with someone. I can't think of a negative carnivore, right? Like, person who's carnivoring properly, really enjoying the lifestyle, really getting the benefits. Like, they're always smiling, they're always happy, they're always talking. Like, I can't, there's not too many miserable carnivores out there, and that has to tell you something too, because we all know there's a lot of negative and miserable people out there. And they just suck the energy out of you. It's like, just go eat a steak. You'll be happy.
I literally tell that to every vegan I get into an argument with. Just, you need to eat a ribeye. You will see what I'm talking about. You need to eat a ribeye. You'll feel better.
Just go have one bite. Just one bite.
Just have a ribeye.
Let us record you.
Have you ever seen those videos that like it's vegans eating steak for the first time? They literally cry tears of joy. Because
going to say, and I'm gonna be the one to step on the bounds because I'm the lady here. They literally look like they're having an orgasm.
Yes.
It is so enjoyable to them.
Yes.
Their body is finally like, oh, thank God.
And then they cry. They literally cry. I mean, you're crying. You're like, oh my God, like, because you've just been suffering for so long, and then it's like this instant release. It's like like someone, I think it was Miley Cyrus, said that when she ate some salmon after being vegan for a while, she felt like her brain rebooted like a computer, just like totally reboot, like, But I'm not against HRT either, as long as you've taken the holistic route first, getting rid of the beer and the endocrine disruptors, the soy, everything that's tanking all the fried foods, everything that's tanking your testosterone. And if a couple months later you get your blood work done, you're still, like, if a man is still hypogonad, like, there's nothing you can do about it. Then go on some TRT, because TRT, HRT, these are one of the very few pharmaceutical products that actually work. I mean, it will. I mean, when I was in my competitive bodybuilding, I was foolish enough to take TRT, and my testosterone was off the charts, like literally off the charts. Like, it only goes up to a certain amount. I think it's 1,500. And then it just kind of shits the bed. It's you're off the charts, literally. And then I'm a perfect example. They tell you that once you get on TRT, you can't get off of it because your body won't make its own testosterone anymore. But when, like, eight weeks after I came off TRT, I got my blood work done and my testosterone was back to normal again. I was like, I bet you I can do it. I bet you, because I'm eating a carnivore, high fat diet, high cholesterol diet, I bet you I'm going to return to normal. And I did. So as long as you do that, but some people might do that and they might still be low in testosterone. Then that's a viable option. Absolutely. Like my wife, I finally got her to understand that, she's perimenopause, probably getting into menopause now. And she finally understood that, she has to stop eating these non-foods. And so I finally got her into carnivore. After much kicking and screaming, she finally understands. And So, she's still frustrated because it's not, she's still not fully there yet. And I was like, you're still transitioning. You had a whole lifetime of abuse and, consuming these horrible non-foods. It's going to take you a while to reset. Give it some time. But I do kind of at some point want to, start getting her blood work done and seeing if maybe, but down the road, like maybe in a few months, I don't know how long I should wait before we start considering that. But if she still has, hormonal issues, then HRT might be something she needs to do as well. So, but we're taking the holistic route first, which everybody should do.
Yeah, I would tell you 3 to 6 months before getting their blood work, like 100% carnivore, 3 to 6 months, because it does take the body a bit to kind of transition and hormonally respond, right? So it might take it. Yeah. Listen, my carnivore queen, she's been carnivore 6.5 years. She has discussions with women every day when they talk about menopause, and she's like, yeah, I'm in full menopause. And they're like, oh, how the night sweats? She's like, don't have them. Oh, how is it not sleeping? She goes, I sleep great, right? Every little single thing they say about it, she's like, not an issue, not an issue, not an issue, right? And it's because, basically, menopause is basically a natural hormonal response based on, some deficiencies, right? So that's why some people get it early, some people get it late, some people never get it, right? If you're supporting your body nutritionally and you have hormonal balance, guess what? You can be in full menopause and not have one negative symptom, right? And technically, we say you weren't even there. And we've seen so many people reverse it, right? So yeah, I love that fact that, once again, we don't look at nutrition. We know it's the biggest factor, what you're eating, what you're not eating, right? And even testosterone, there is a difference between when you compete and do a cycle and TRT, right? TRT is very minimal. It's usually just to balance out and to be in normal rates, right? Because I'm 58 now, but I competed from when I was 17 to 25. I started doing a cycle, not TRT, when I was 19, right? And there is a big difference. And when I actually did test my levels, they're like over 3,000, right? Because I was running 3 to 5 meals a week, right? But there's a reason I was walking around at 3% at 240 pounds, right? Like, because that's not normal, right? It's literally Captain America stuff when you're cranking up that much. And that's why bodybuilders look like bodybuilders, right? Where, and I've been transparent. I'm 58. I've been on TRT since I was 42. I take 3/4 of a mil. When I got my levels tested, they were 280. I got it up to around 680 after 4 months of TRT, and I just felt normal. Like where when I first recognized I was basically, I thought I was going through depression at 42 because I didn't want to get out of bed. I just woke up one day and I'm like, I'm not getting out of bed. I literally stayed home for 2 weeks. The first time in my adult life, I didn't go to work. I didn't do anything. Right. And my levels basically were in the toilet within 2 months, 2 to 3 months, 1 mil a week, basically got up to 680, kind of stayed there. I found carnivore when I was 49. 6 months after carnivore, 1,200. Right. So I went from 680 to 1,200. I got off of it for a bit, went back a little down. And it never really came back up for me. So I went back on and I've been transparent, tell everyone I run basically 3/4 of a mil a week. But with carnivore, I basically manage over 1,000. I've had hundreds of mil clients. Basically, I've had a ton get off TRT and just their levels just incredibly bounce back, just eating carnivore, like in the 1,000, right? And then I've had some same scenario where they've seen average increases of 200, 300, 400, right? But yeah, Dr. Chaffee talks about it all the time, where he's seen clients literally go from hundreds to 200s to 1,000, right? And I think we've all heard that and seen that. So there are different aspects, but the reality, once again, saturated fat, healthy cholesterol for men, that cholesterol basically helps boost our natural testosterone. And that's why you'll have clients that literally, I have a 63-year-old client, and we were joking on a coaching call the other day. I didn't even know what he was talking about. This is how, dense I am sometimes. And my wife does say I'm like 90% retarded. He's like, Coach, he goes to me, he goes, Coach, I got wood the other day. And I'm like, what? Did you chop a tree down? Like, what are you talking about? You got wood. I thought he was building a fire. And he's like, no. He goes, I woke up with an erection. I'm like, oh, okay. And I had no idea where he was going with it, right? And is like, because I haven't woke up with one in years, right?
Wow.
And I said to him, I said, well, listen, I go, that actually happens. You know, people talk about male and female, how their libido improves basically when you're on carnivore, and it's in a saturated fat, right?
Yeah, it's one of the kind of big factors that actually got me into posting was to share, because there were a lot of people that I would talk to who were in their 20s and they were completely impotent. And I remember thinking, there's a problem with this generation that's coming up, that they are not even able to like function a natural human, like it's a right. Like we are physically given this ability to have an experience and all of that fun stuff, yes, but if it's not working, there's a problem. You are biologically breaking down. And people just think, oh, well, you know, it just happens. I'm getting older. And I'm like, I'm sorry, guys, but 25 is not getting older. That is not the case. I'm like, you know, people in my generation, I mean, they are still having a good time. It's a 50-50 mix. The generation before me, I mean, you're talking they're in their 60s and 70s, still having a good time. Why is it now my son's generation, who's 18 to 25, are having problems? Something's wrong. Something's wrong. And, you know, it's a hard conversation, especially I'm a mom of boys. So I'm very like open and like, this is just how it is. How are things doing? Like, do you feel normal? What do we need to eliminate? Of course, my son's like, Mom, seriously. And I'm like, no, not seriously. He wants a family one day. And I'm like, you know, you might not be thinking about that right now, but if you're not taking the measures to make sure that you are capable when you're in your 20s or 30s or whenever you decide, guess what? Were those Cheetos really worth it, guys? Were those Monster Energy drinks really worth it, guys? Like, you know, it's sad.
You know, Ryan was talking about conspiracy videos. If you want to talk about conspiracies, like if you think about all the things that are coming to a head right now, like with the Epstein files and all these horrific things that are being exposed, and like a society where men in particular were in their power, in their protective masculine, divine masculine, where, you know, they're protective. They would never have allowed these things to take place. And they certainly wouldn't be sitting back, allowing this to be exposed and just be completely indifferent to it. That's why they went after the masculine. That's why they made it toxic. That's why there's all these endocrine disruptors in the environment, in the food, in the skincare products, the cologne, people dousing themselves with cologne. Those are all horrible endocrine disruptors. It's tanking your hormones. The pesticides that they spray on the food, the fluoride in the water. It's just, I mean, you're under like a nuclear assault of endocrine disruptors and hormone disruptors, and it's not an accident. It's not. They did it on purpose. And they also, of course, they also want to depopulate. So it's like there's one woman. I can't remember her name, but she took the data on fertility rates and extrapolated into the future. And in the year 2045, according the way things are going now, if things continue in 2045, the entire human race will be infertile. And if you want to get into more conspiracy theories, they do this thing called predictive programming. And if you've ever seen the movie Children of Men, it's a movie where the entire human race is infertile. You know, like, and, you know, like there's this kid, he was 18 years old and he got killed, and he was like, oh, the youngest person in the world got killed today. And then the whole world was in mourning, you know what I mean? Like, just because he was the youngest person in the world, and he was 18 years old. And then like the basis of the movie is they find some woman who's actually pregnant and they have to protect her. And but it's this dystopian. It's a really good movie. I think it's a Jonathan Nolan film, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, you're under attack, and your kids are under attack in particular. And like someone like Selena has an excellent opportunity that I didn't have just because I wasn't in the know. To raise your kids shielded from that, and you know they'll grow into their power, and they'll be almost like a different species than some of these kids raised on Lunchables and Hot Pockets and Doritos and Mountain Dew, and it's crime against humanity.
It's hard to watch because I literally watch it in comparison to my own family. So I have over 12 nieces and nephews. I have a big family. Only one raising my children this way. Right. Sorry. And it's hard to watch my 8-year-old nieces and nephews. It's hard to watch my 2- and 3-year-old nieces and nephews who are, sorry guys if you're watching, I love y'all, but the truth is the truth, who are eating absolute trash, garbage food. Everything's processed. And to watch the difference between my son, my youngest son, I have a 3-year-old as well, and my 2, 3, 4, and 5-year-old nieces and nephews that are closer to his age. My son has been speaking full paragraphs since he was 1.5 years old. My son has been articulating thoughts and dissecting how to do things and maneuver things and how does this work. And he has been grammatically correcting his own speech over the last 2 years. You can give him a word that he's never heard before, and when he goes to use it in like a past tense or a present tense or a multiple plural aspect, he immediately understands how to do it. He just does it. And then I have my other 2-year-old nephew who is exactly 2 months to the day younger than mine. And he can't hardly talk. And you go, he's not dumb. You can see that his brain is like trying to process, but it can't. It's unbelievably hard to watch. Mm-hmm. Unbelievably. Sorry. Touchy subject, apparently. A little emotional.
Yeah.
No, I get it.
100%. I get it too. Dr. Sarah, I forget Sarah's last name. She was on with Tony and Mark a couple months ago. She's the doctor in England who basically got banned for practicing medicine in England because she wouldn't follow the standard, diet. Now she's a naturopathic doctor. She made a thing that resonated with me so much. She goes, when you know the truth, it's hard to lie, right? And the reality is a lot of us, our eyes are open now, our ears are open now. We know the truth. So it's really hard to basically justify, people eating what we're eating and eating the way, knowing the truth that basically it's killing you slowly internally. It's basically making you worse, right? I've gotten a lot of slack and heat, being kind of, everyone knows I'm carnivore police, I'm a carnivore Karen. And I tell my clients who are thriving in a carnivore lifestyle, you're doing an injustice, not incorporating more of a carnivore or animal-based lifestyle with your kids, right? Just because you feel guilty and you think they should have some sugar. I go, you're not doing anything to benefit them. You're actually setting them up just like you, struggling with your health, struggling with your weight, struggling being and existing and being a great, basically human, right?
Their cognition is completely impaired.
Well,
completely.
I've been lucky and blessed enough to work with some families that have young kids that hired me, that their kids are ADHD, OCD, 6 months to a year are gone. Right. And no one's telling them it's literally what you're feeding them. Sugar is literally dulling their basically neural net, their neural system, their cerebral system, they just aren't functioning at a high level because they're over basically wired, right? And,
Absolutely.
you know, and like all the little things, like, you know, even the aspect of, you know, young adults in their 20s having anxiety and depression, that's not a normal thing. In the teens, right? Like we have so many people younger and younger and younger with all these issues. And it's literally because we're overstimulated by these foods we're eating, that there's no nutritional value. And basically the body's screaming for help. And no one's basically telling them, you know, outside of, you know, us in these communities now, that, listen, you have to change what you're doing, right? You really have to, you know, look at what's going on. Yeah, you know, I say it all the time and I preach it on a box, like, you know, we're not getting better. We're getting fatter, we're getting sicker, we're on more meds. And we're literally doing everything they're saying. They being, you know, the medical, the pharmaceutical, the food companies, right? When are people going to start opening up and realizing, you know, you got to go a different way, right? It is not working, right? And the reality is, if with the science, the technology, the smart people, we should be the opposite. Everyone should be healthy. Everyone should be fit. Everyone should basically have a high cognitive value. Everyone should have an abundance of energy. Everyone should sleep great. Everyone should have great digestive system, right? Like everyone should be in a fantastic mood. And why aren't we, right? Like, because we're still doing that same crap, what they're saying, oh, just get in a deficit, eat low fat, you know, like basically take all these supplements, right? Like it's just, it gets frustrating, like super frustrating. Even the infertility, like, you know, we talk about, you know, it's not, especially in North America, like how many people, you know, can't have babies, right?
Yeah.
And you know, and they'll spend thousands of dollars on, you know, all these drugs and these protocols. But meanwhile, you get a guy like Dr. Kultz basically changing their nutrition, they're having babies within basically months, right? Like how many times have you heard it in our space? I've been lucky enough, I've had clients, wasn't even aware that they couldn't have babies, all of a sudden tell me they're pregnant. And I'm like, oh, that's great. And they're like, no, you don't understand. I tried for like 10 years, couldn't have a baby, you know, 10 months after carnivore, now they're pregnant, right?
Right.
And it's because their body basically heals, right?
Yeah. We used to joke. Sorry, I was going to say, we used to joke Mark Inus, because we used to say, oh man, he's just out here creating all these kids, because he has like over 30 clients that have gotten pregnant since taking on his dietary regimen, which is carnivore. And it's hilarious, not funny, haha, hilarious, but it's hilarious because it's like you said, this is like a mass generation of infertility. Like Stephen just explained, I mean, we've been skyrocketing towards a non-fertile world. And I find it interesting. I mean, it was a very similar story. Right before my surgery, I was told that I would never be able to have children again. And I was kind of at that age where I was like, well, okay, you know, like, I think I cried about it for like 3 weeks. Was like, what in the world? But I came to a point where I was like, well, you know, I've already got, you know, at the time my son was 13 and a half when I was told that. And I was like, well, I've already got my son. At least I've had him, and I have helped raise several other children that are now in their 20s. So I'm like, okay, you know, that's okay. I mean, 6 weeks after my surgery, here I was pregnant. Well, what was I? I was carnivore based. I was animal based. I mean, I still had blueberries at the time, so I can't quite claim carnivore, but you know, I was pretty freaking close. How is it? I called my doctor and I remember telling her, I was like, well, you lied to me. And she was like, no way. I'm like, guess way. I've taken 12 tests at home. 12. 12 tests is not going to tell me I'm wrong. They can't all be screwed up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Different stores and different brands. They're not all fucked up. 12. I took 12 because I could not believe it. I was like, this is insane. So, Ryan, you have been so quiet and patient and listening to us jabber our jaws profusely.
And I'm sitting here thinking we gotta get Ryan involved. I mean, he's gonna be like, he's gonna cash out
Well,
on this.
Ryan, I have a question for you. So being a little younger than us,
Yeah.
you know, so people your age, when you're transitioning into carnivore, kind of what's kind of the scenarios that happen? Like what were they thinking of you doing it, and what were they saying? And
Yeah.
did you notice that you even went through a transition yourself in the beginning, maybe kind of hiding it, and then when you notice getting better, kind of being excited about it, and then like a lot of us, we end up getting defensive because we love it so much when people get a little. So if you can tell us a little bit about how kind of your journey went when it came to that aspect, that'd be awesome.
How you
Oh
how
boy,
you
yeah,
came to
you're
lean
about to get me really really worked up. But yeah, like, I still live with my parents, so it's like you know, they know how bad I struggled. You know, they were telling me to try to get on all these meds when I was struggling with anxiety and stuff. And you know, I kept sticking with the holistic approach, and carnivore is the only thing that worked for me. So you know, I tried maybe hiding it a little bit, but then I was just like, hey, like this is what I'm doing. And you know, my parents maybe have looked into it a little bit. They still aren't fully like bought in that it's good for you. They still think that oh, cholesterol is bad. And I don't blame them because they're your ages and they have been taught their entire lives that you know we can't eat too much red meat, cholesterol is bad. So they ask me all these questions about it. And it's just like, you know, you go do the research yourself. You know, it's like that's kind of how it is. You know, definitely like the people my age, my life don't really understand it. I do have a couple friends that have been able to be open with it. I'm in a couple circles of people my age that are in this, but it's like I don't know anybody in my real life that does anything similar to this. I don't know, like everyone questions it, and it's just like crazy how upside down this world is that I am questioned for eating what our humans are
Right.
supposed to eat. And I have hundreds of proofs that show that humans are supposed to eat predominantly meat, but I'm the one who's questioned. It's just been like, it's been something I really struggled with the past couple months as I've seen the greatest improvements in my health is
Mm.
having to deal with more criticism of those around me. And it's like, they can't even look at it for face value that I've literally changed my life. They look at it as, oh, you're doing something that's so bad and so wrong, but they neglect the fact that it's changed my life because they use their all like already established biases that you're not supposed to eat red meat. So it's been tough, especially living with your parents, but you know, they've been extremely supportive. They still pay for my groceries most of the time. So it's like I'm very lucky to have that. And for the most part, they've been extremely supportive, but I think it's just the part that irks me is like the questioning of it sometimes really bothers me because I'm so passionate about it. And I know that they still need to understand why this is good. And, you know, I'm trying to do better with like being more subtle with those around me. But like with Selena, you were talking, like I was at a family birthday party and it's like I see all the kids around me and it's like it's a birthday party. They're gonna eat pizza and stuff. But I know that like they don't.
Mm.
It doesn't strike me that they're only eating pizza at a birthday party. They're probably eating a lot of junk food all the time. And I have a younger cousin who's like maybe like 4. He's like my favorite cousin, but he's diagnosed with ADHD, and it's just like I hate it. It's like it really pisses me off because I really want people around me to be healthy, but I know that the brainwashing has gone so far that it's like there's really not much I can do at this point. It's like I can do my best to educate them, but I can't drive myself crazy trying to educate those around me when, you know, they have to kind of like approach this when they're ready, like when they're ready to try to put an end to their health struggles, they might have to try different things and that could lead them to carnivore. It just, I know there's so much that goes into it. I could talk about this for hours, but I guess to like answer your question, yes, like I'm still getting used to, you know, dealing with this because it's like I'm not on my own yet. I can't just do my own thing and not really worry about other people. Like I have a girlfriend, I have friends, I have parents that are all like really close to me. And it's like, I'm just trying to lead by example and say like, hey, like you've been around me, you know that I've made incredible changes. So like there has to be merit to this. So I guess I'm just trying to like, you know, be myself unapologetically and hope that others can see that way. And I feel like I have been able to influence those around me a tiny bit, but it's just like I wish, oh, they were full blown, at least tried full blown carnivore for a little bit. You know, it's like
Right.
there's a lot that goes into it, but I'm curious to hear like your guys' perspectives on it. Like, have you been able to well, you, Joe and Steven, you both said like your wives are carnivores. Like, Selena, have you been able to influence your kids to like be carnivore? Like, what is that like?
So my husband's full carnivore. He's probably stricter than I am, to be honest. Um, my youngest is I say he's about 90%. Because when we do go out to like functions, I don't completely eliminate the possibility of him having like fruit. But I can still count on like one hand how many times that's happened in the last 8 months. So, I mean, you kind of go, okay. But we notice a huge difference. Otherwise, he's pretty much, for the most part, he's like 90% raw carnivore. So, like this morning, he had 4 raw eggs blended with a little bit of milk. That was his breakfast. Yesterday, he had the same thing. He ate ground beef, raw ground beef with a little bit of salt mixed in, and we make little tiny micro meatballs, as he calls them, but they're not cooked. And he ate about a quarter pound by the end of the day. He ate that. He also ate bone broth with butter, and then I do make him from time to time. I do make him the carnivore bread, where you take the egg and the powdered milk and a little bit of baking powder, and you mix it. And I'll make that for him from time to time, probably about once every 2 months. I'll make that for him, and he'll have like 4 slices for the whole like 2 months. But he likes raw ribeye. That's his favorite, of course. He's pretty much a raw food more often than not. My parents, well, my mom and her husband, they are
Is it just on my end, or did Selena freeze?
Yeah, she froze
Yeah.
for me too.
She froze for me too.
Probably still talking, doesn't realize she's frozen.
Oh goodness,
Oh.
poor thing. Yeah, well, you were talking to Ryan about like how you've improved your health so much, and everybody still thinks you're crazy. Like I get the same thing, especially at the fire department. There was a guy at my gym. He had just had a widowmaker heart attack. I hope this is still recording, but anyway, trying to be interesting. But he had just had a widowmaker heart attack, and he came back to the gym, and he comes to me and asks me, you know, what kind of things he can do to improve his health. And I told him all the things he has to do, and he's like, "Yeah, I love my honey buns." And I'm like, I mean, you know, do you want to live or do you want your honey buns? You can't have both. So, so I'm looking at the Instagram live, and we are still on, so that's cool. I don't know what happened to Selena, but very good. So anyway, he came in a day or two after, and my wife is the manager at my gym. So he came in and started talking to her, and he's like, "I can't eat the way your husband eats. I would have another heart attack." And it always amazes me, especially like someone like me and Joe. We're in our 50s. I'm turning 52 in April, and you know, it's hard not to sound conceited, but like Joe and I are in the top 1% of the 1%, especially in this society. Like we're apex, man. We're on top. You know, we're killing it. And people will stand in front of you or talk about you or in reference to you, and as if as if we're the unhealthy ones somehow. Like they'll tell you like, you're gonna die, you're gonna have a heart attack, you're gonna get cancer, and they're looking right at you, and you're just an absolute, you're just an absolute unit. You know, someone like Sean Baker, absolute unit. Anthony Chafee, absolute unit. And they keep telling you that you're going to die, and I'm like, at some point these carnivores have to start dropping dead, right? I mean, because Chafee's been carnivore for over a decade, I think closer to 2 decades. I talked to Sean Baker.
So if you put it together, he's been 15 years total carnivore. He went off a little animal base, but yeah, Baker's 11 years. Chafee's basically 15.
Bart K been almost 14 years, I think he said. And then you got Rancher Maggie, of course, who is just an absolute goddess in her 80s, has been carnivore for what, 65 years?
65
You're
years.
like a senior.
She
Yeah.
literally looks like she's in her 40s, and this woman
Yes.
is 82 years old. It is crazy.
Yes.
Still works every day. She's a farmer, rancher. She's phenomenal. Yeah, you
Yeah,
know,
like-
I love that because I get that all the time. But all you should tell your friend there is, well, you're not eating meats and fats now, and you still had a heart attack, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing that never clues into them. Well, what are you eating now? Because it's not meats and fats, but you still had a heart attack, right? Because we know it's sugar, gluten, and wheat that gives you cardiovascular disease, not meats or saturated fats, right? And listen, I was told the same. I have friends that are doctors. I have a great friend, Lucky Sharma, Dr. Sharma, and he told me, "Oh, you'll get some good results, but you'll end up." And he lists all the cardiovascular diseases I get, and he goes, "You'll be dead within 10 years, right?" So every time I see him, I used to say 3, I used to say 2, and he's like, "What?" I go, 3 years before I'm dead, right? And 2 years before I'm dead, because you gave me 10 years, right? Meanwhile, he has a double chin, can't button up his shirt. He has a cigarettes in his pocket, and he's a doctor. Triple extra large coffee, right? And the way we met is I was his trainer, and when he worked with me and he followed a plan, he actually was in better shape. But yeah, it is simply amazing, the stigmatism, and it's so dogmatic that eating meats and fats is going to give you cardiovascular disease, right? And it's unhealthy, and it's literally the opposite. And Ryan, I'd love to tell you, you're going to get 10 years in and it's going to get a lot better, but it doesn't, right? Like, it's a night and day difference. I can tell you in the last decade from when I started to now, night and day difference. But, it's still, the majority of the population still regurgitating 1970 science, right? And all we really can do is educate them, right? Everyone goes through, like I went through it, you go through the stages. Like when I first started, because I never even took it seriously. A person asked me the other day, well, did you plan on doing this the rest of your life? And I'm like, no. I go, if you go back and watch my origin story, it was only supposed to be 30 days. I go, but 30 days turned into 3 months, turned into a year. We're 10 years later, and I'm never going to stop. I go, but I still remember the first 2 of my nutrition clients asked me about doing carnivore. My exact words is, we're not going to do that bleeping shit. You need your carbs, proteins, and fats, right? And that's because that was everything I was taught, right? And then I remember I was 22 days in, I told my wife, I'm never going to eat a carb again in my life. She's like, what? I go, I've never felt this good in my life. I go, I'm not hungry. The first time in my adult life, I'm not hungry, right? And, living that classic bodybuilding lifestyle, a cut for me was 3,800 calories. I was always starving. A bulk for me, which was 8 months out of the year, was 6,000 calories. I was always starving, right? Yeah. And I really didn't understand the hormonal response because we're not taught that, right? We're not taught about hormones in nutrition school. We're not taught about digestibility, absorption rates. We're not taught about anti-nutrients. Like, I have around 20 textbooks for over the years. There's nothing in there. I didn't even know until I got into this space, your body can store up to 100,000 calories of energy from fat, because they never teach you that. They teach you about carbohydrates because that's your energy source, right? Like, it's like the bizarro world, right? It's like,
backwards.
Everything we know about carnivore is the opposite of traditional, the world. And that's why people have such a hard part. But I went through the stages too. I hit it, and then I was getting fantastic results. Then I was defensive. Like, people, I would just right down their throat, right? And then I got to the point where I hit it, got defensive. Then I just became an advocate, which most people do. Now I talk people's ears off, right? And every time they have basically but, I just have a rebuttal for it, right? And it's just because the reality is, in its simplest form, meats and fats are essential macronutrients. Carbohydrates are not essential. So just starting at that, there's no buts, right? And I get that from my macro brothers and sisters all the time, well, your body needs carbs. No, that's incorrect. Well, they're vital. They're not. They're essential. They're not. Your brain needs carbohydrates. Well, you're talking about glucose. If you don't have carbohydrates, guess what? Your liver produces it. It doesn't, right? The only correct statement about a carbohydrate is I am choosing to utilize carbohydrates for energy. Because the reality, if you break it down to the most basic scientists, so you don't have to go super crazy with it, it's your body doesn't require a gram. They're not necessary. The reason why they're defined as a non-essential macronutrient, there's not a nutrient found in a carbohydrate that your body requires that it won't already produce on its own, right? And the simple fact that proteins and fats are essential macronutrients that your body actually requires to exist, and we're told they're bad for us and we need to limit them. Like, how does that make sense? It doesn't, right? So it's just, yeah, I get fired up all the time. Like, I'm on my soapbox around 20 times a day just because, you know, I get questioned all the time. And like my side hustle, I help out a friend who owns a gym. I'm basically his head trainer there. I'm only there 10 hours a week and I do a lot of his nutrition. And, you know, I have these conversations every day. You need carbs for your energy. Meanwhile, they're with their pre-workout and energy drink. And I'm like, you're not even utilizing carbs as your energy. You're utilizing stimulants. When I tell people go stim free for a month, they're like, what do you mean? I go, you're telling me you need carbs for energy. So I just want you to eat sweet potatoes, rice, blueberries, no more coffee, no more pre-workout, no more sugar for 30 days. They look at you like you're insane, like you're crazy. It's because they don't even realize they're sitting there telling me they need all these carbs for energy, but they're not even utilizing carbs for energy, right? They're utilizing stimulants to get through their day. How many times have you seen a guy, Stephen will tell you, they lose their mind because they don't have their pre-workout. They're going to have the worst workout in the world, right? Like it's just ludicrous, right? Like, you know, I grew up in an era where there's no such thing as pre-workout. Like the first pre-workout came out in 1984. It was called Ultimate Orange. It was literally creatine, vanillyl sulfate, and they had and caffeine. So a little bit of a vascular dilator, some energy, and, you know, basically creatine. That was it, right? Now they're just crazy. And it's because they literally deplete your adrenal glands so much. If you don't friggin' add and take more, it's not effective, right? But meanwhile, you have individuals like us that were fat adapted, utilize fat for energy. Workouts never been better, strength's never been better, stamina's never been better. And, you know, and I love the people, well, you know, my workout suffered. And it's like, well, it's just because you're not getting enough fat. You're actually not eating enough. Actually, even you mentioned it earlier, you were doing 3 and you went down to 2 and you noticed the difference in your energy. Literally just means, yeah, you're not eating enough. When you transition down to 2, usually what you do is you take your third meal, take around 60% of that third meal and put it in the other 2. And usually you'll kind of maintain. And you want to do it for around a week because it will take your body time to adjust you going from 3 to 2, especially if you've done it for 6 months, your body gets kind of used to that. Sorry, I just remember I wanted to tell you that. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I'm a skinny guy, so I definitely wasn't eating enough. And I was just like, why am I feeling like this? Like I used to feel great. And then like past couple of days I've had 3 meals. I'm like, wow, I feel amazing. So yeah.
Well, that's, you know, when you're carnivoring properly, you eventually within 3 to 6 months, you get to this state. We call it cruising, right? It's where you're super consistent. You're eating within the window. You're eating consistent meals because you figured out what supports your body. You notice my mood's great. My energy's great. My stamina's great. My digestive system's great. And then what happens when you get to that consistency and, you know, you hear people talk about optimal wellness, sense of well-being, just functioning really good, you basically know where you should be. So what happens is when you deviate and change something, and if it goes backwards, you know, okay, obviously I'm missing something because I was functioning at this level, which I loved, but now I'm here. What's the difference? Well, you know, it's pretty easy usually figuring out, you know, when we have a deviance, meaning something's different, that's not normal. It's either something we did or something we didn't do, right? And it's very easy for a lot of people when they, you know, it's easy when you know, start consuming more fats, your hunger response goes down. It's easy to eat less, but you still need a certain amount to support your body, right? And that's what kind of happens.
I think there's 2 kind of hurdles that we have to overcome and kind of like getting people to like, you know, like, to get the blinders off, basically. The first one is that they're horribly addicted. So when someone like you've eliminated all of the addicted drug foods, and then you're telling them that you've removed those, that sends a panic, like, oh my God, I got to give up cake and sugar. And, like they don't even realize that they're not even thinking their thoughts. It's the addiction thinking for them. Like, so they're horribly addicted. And it's also ingrained in our cultural DNA. Like I remember 20 years ago, this is belaying my age. I was on a CrossFit message forum. This is before we had Facebook and MySpace and all that. We used to post on message boards, and I was on a CrossFit message board, and this guy was just getting hell for people for saying that there was no link between dietary cholesterol and serum cholesterol, and there was no link between serum cholesterol and heart disease. This is 20 years ago. This guy is just saying this horrid blasphemy, and I'm like, I was so mad at him that I literally wanted to find out where he lived so I could fight him. Of course cholesterol causes heart disease, you utter piece of shit. How dare you say that? And I was so mad at him. And then later on, not long after that, I realized that the whole thing was nothing but marketing disguised as science. Like they literally paid scientists to do the studies saying that it was the saturated fat and cholesterol and not the sugar and the seed oils. And it was all marketing. It was all Procter and Gamble and the sugar industry. And I was like, oh my God. And this is decades ago. And still to this day, in the current year, hardly a day goes by that somebody doesn't say that my cholesterol intake is going to lead to a heart attack. And it's not just the cholesterol. This is just an example of how ingrained it is, but it's the fiber, it's the balanced diet, it's the carbohydrates. The carbohydrates give you energy, and you have to, eat the rainbow and all of this, and all of it is marketing and none of it is science. It's literally corporations just buying science as a marketing campaign. The whole eat less, move more concept is literally a Coca-Cola marketing campaign. They spent hundreds of millions of dollars on studies to show that exercise was way more important than what you ate. So don't worry about what you eat, just exercise, and then eat less of it. That's where the whole calories in, calories out. Again, that's another cultural dogma that will not die. Of course you have to moderate your calories. Of course, if you want to lose weight, you have to be in a caloric deficit. And then it's to the point where like they don't even blame. They don't even want, like, of course, cholesterol is to blame for a lot of things, but they won't blame sugar for diabetes. They'll say it's insulin resistance. And I'm like, well, what causes insulin resistance? And they'll just say eating too many calories, you're dealing with a multi-trillion-dollar medical, pharmaceutical, industrial complex infrastructure that they literally own everything. They own the news. Like if you ever watch Fox News, like, don't watch Fox News, but if you ever have Fox News on, because sometimes it's on at the fire department, and all of the commercials are pharmaceutical commercials. And I swear that Jardian's commercial makes me want to flip a table over. I just like a bunch of fat diabetics dancing around, and I'm lowering my A1C. I'm like, stop eating carbs. So those are the two primary hurdles, I think. They're horribly addicted, and they're addicted to what is essentially a drug that some people say. I mean, there's a lot of debate about this, but let's just say, for the sake of argument, they say that sugar is 8 times more addictive than cocaine. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that it's as addictive as cocaine. I mean, it doesn't have to be 8 times more. Even if it was just as addictive, on the same level as cocaine, that's still pretty addictive. I mean, we know that they got rats addicted to cocaine, and then when they offered them cocaine or sugar, the rats went for the sugar. They were addicted to cocaine, but they took the sugar over the cocaine. That's how much it lights up the pleasure centers of your brain. So you're dealing with literal drug addicts. And think about how much of it is prevalent in our society. It's like you're a heroin addict, and you're like, okay, I want to get off heroin, but I live in a heroin den surrounded by heroin addicts with heroin on every shelf in the house or whatever. You can't get away from it. And everybody's like, do some heroin. Here, just do some heroin with me. And it's like crabs in a bucket. If one crab starts to claw out of the bucket, the other crabs pull them back down. You know what I mean? Like, you've probably seen this as well. Like, like you'll be at a party or something, and there'll just be like, one bite won't hurt you. Come on, one bite won't hurt. One piece of cake won't hurt you.
Live a little. That's my favorite.
Yeah,
Live a little.
Live a
'Cause
little.
their existence is basically through food, eating, right? I hate that one.
Yeah.
Live a little.
So yeah, that's the two primary is the cultural, just the dogma of it is so firmly established, especially among the older generations, especially the boomers, because the boomers grew up in a time when doctors weren't like completely corrupted, when the industry wasn't. I mean, it was corrupted, but it wasn't so total corruption. Like, I mean,
Well,
you'll never.
listen, there is a difference in the systems, right? Like, listen, there's collusion, there's corruptions. If you want to, call it conspiracy, the problem with conspiracy is people think of Hollywood too much. Two people rule the world and stuff. But the reality is, whether you think it's a conspiracy, it is basically there's a plan, right? Like, food companies want you eating. They don't want you not eating. Pharmaceutical companies don't want you dead. They want you sick. They want you on meds. The medical industry, and that's what it is, not a health industry. And that's what people kind of lose fact is, they're taught and they're designed to basically manage ailment through medication. They are literally legalized drug pushers for pharmaceutical companies, right? They don't look at root causes, right? When you're not looking at root causes, you can expect to basically never heal, right? And medications don't heal you. I still don't know of a med that actually heals an individual, right? They basically manage an ailment. The problem is, you're supposed to have 2 safety nets when you go on a med, right? Your doctor's basically supposed to make you aware of the negative side effects, the nutritional deficiencies, and how hard this medication is on certain organs. And then if they don't do it, and they usually just hand you a sheet, when you go to the pharmacy and basically get it, they're supposed to do the same thing, but they don't. They just say, take it with food. Don't take it without food. Take it at this time, right? And inherently, what has happened to most people, and we've all seen it, you start on 1 or 2 meds, and you didn't modify your nutrition. You didn't work on your stress and anxiety. You haven't improved your sleep. You're not more active. And basically what happens? You end up getting worse. You end up going on 4 meds. 3 years later, you're on 8 meds, right? Like it's so disheartening and so brutal that, meeting people on like 8 meds, 12 meds, 16 meds, 22 meds, like it's just crazy and they're not getting better. But meanwhile, they're popping these pills in the expectation that it's helping them, and it's not, right? Like when Ryan, when you're going through your anxiety and depression, I know they've recommended meds for you. Were you taking any?
No, I didn't take it.
No.
I tried like a bunch of like plant stuff, like L-theanine, ashwagandha, like the usual.
Yeah.
I don't think anything really helped me in terms of that, but like
Yeah.
I remember my dad's on an antidepressant, and I know a lot of people on antidepressants in my life, but my dad is on a lot of meds, and he told me you might have to go take a medicine, and I'm like, I got pissed at him, of course. I'm like, because I understand why people do it, but I know that of course you can heal anything pretty much by diet and lifestyle. So it's like, yeah, like I was pressured by him. I remember going to my doctor, and he was like, I'm dealing with anxiety. He's like, well, I'm going to prescribe you something. I'm like, okay, like, whatever. But I never took any antidepressant. I know my aunt, who's actually, she's like vegan, vegetarian, or like maybe pescatarian, but she's actually the one who like I can credit my health improving, because she like kind of opened my eyes up to like not being on meds, because she took what was it? She took one of like, forgot what it was, but one of like the really like hardcore like antidepressants, and it really
Prozac, Celexa, or anything like that.
Yeah, something like that. I think it was I forgot. It was like a certain class of them, but I forgot like what it's called.
Oh yeah, I forget too.
Yeah, but you guys probably know what I'm talking about. And she took that, and it really messed her up. And she kind of put me on to like diet and stuff. And even though she is like more of a pescatarian, like it kind of got me thinking about diet and what led me to carnivore. So it's like, I know it's interesting, but yeah, like.
Did she accidentally lead you towards carnivore?
Yes, which is actually kind of crazy that she did. Like it's actually pretty funny story, because she only started incorporating, like she said meat was hurting her stomach, and she had terrible issues, and then was like, then was like vegan, and then started incorporating fish and salmon, and it's like, I don't know, it's crazy. But I know a lot of people in my close life that are on those drugs, like antidepressants and anti-anxiety medicine. And it's just like, it sucks because I know they're probably having side effects to those. And it's just like, I know that they could probably get what I experienced.
Was she, when she was eating meat, right?
Yeah.
Was she incorporating more fat, or was she just eating straight protein?
That's a good question, because one of my problems is a couple years ago when I was going through the worst of my anxiety and acid reflux. I was like,
Because I'm sorry to interrupt. Before you answer
Yeah.
that question, though, Joe mentioned it a while back that you can get what's called protein poisoning,
yes.
and that's why a lot of people fail on a
Well, she was
carnivore
in
diet.
carnivore. Yeah, I
Right,
don't think she
but-
ever tried carnivore. Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, what I was gonna say is I think like overcooking the shit out of meat can make it like make you have problems, because when I had really bad acid reflux, I was cooking ground beef until it was pretty much burnt because I was so scared of bacteria and stuff.
Like hockey
Now I'm
puff,
like,
basically.
and now I'm like eating raw eggs and stuff and raw milk, and it's just like so much different. But that was like, I was eating ground beef every day over the summer that like I was dealing with the worst, my symptoms, and I was like, why am I having acid reflux from eating beef? And it's like I was cooking it till it was almost burnt, and it was just like, I think cooking your meat less definitely, in my mind, gives you better digestion, and then better,
What
like
was
if you're eating
the-
a steak rare.
What was the lean to fat ratio when you were cooking your beef?
Well, when I was cooking it, like burnt pretty much, it was like 80-20, maybe 85-15. So it was still pretty fat, but like, yeah.
But you were just cooking away all the fat.
Oh, I was
basically.
cooking away everything. And now like if I try to do steak as much as I can to cook it rare, but like I'll do ground beef a couple times a week, and I'll cook it like as least as possible, like, and it's digest fine.
Now, you mentioned a long time ago you had really bad anxiety, right?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this then, because anxiety is your stress level, basically. Were you just like anxious to the point of like nervous about everything, or did you just have like a really bad temper tantrum? Like you got like something would just set you off like within a snap of a finger?
Yeah, I think it was like health anxiety. So I was worried of like, I thought at one time I had heart issues, and I even got like a full heart checkup and find out, of course, I was fine. Like, I think I was just worried about, oh, what if something happens to me? Like, what if I get sick? What if I got COVID or something? I don't know. That was like an irrational thought. And like, what if that was bad for me or something? What if I had a heart attack or something? And it was like a lot of the health anxiety, and I would constantly worry. I think part of it, of course, was like panic attacks. So I would just like, my body, of course, I wasn't giving it the right nutrients. So I would just like.
A lot of people actually who suffer from anxiety and depression have mini panic attacks. And what that is, they're not full blown. They'll notice fluttering. Their heart skips sometimes. They'll notice their heart rate goes up. They sweat a little. And that's when you think, do I have a heart issue? Because it's actually, it's not funny you said that, but it's telling you said that, because there's something, I forget the percentage of around 30% of people who basically suffer from anxiety get basically these mini attacks, and they will get tested for full-blown cardiovascular issues because they think, inherently, oh, obviously my heart rate's increased. I got the flutters, I'm a little dizzy, am I having a heart attack, right? And they get the full workup. Then they find out it's literally mental. It's literally cerebral. Their body is basically under stress and it's playing tricks with you, right? And it's just a natural thing. When you you stress yourself out, your heart rate will go up, right? Your blood pressure will increase, right? And then if you're dehydrated, which most people are, it makes it even worse, right? And that's where the palpitations come in, right? And then what happens is if you don't drink or get some salt or breathe, relax, you can end up having a full-blown attack, right? And then that just sets people right off. And then, you go see the doctor and let's put you on these 8 meds.
Yeah, for me, anxiety it's not so much stress as it is just it's kind of difficult to explain, but your whole body just feels like first of all, your breathing is restricted. You can't really breathe as well. And you feel like it does feel like it. I mean, I don't know what a cardiac event feels like because I've never had one, but it makes you wonder if you're having a cardiac event because something just feels wrong in the area of your chest. And then also, I have like a knot in my back, like right next to my shoulder blade, like right behind my heart. And all of the garbage that I would eat, it would cause that to tighten up and tense. And then it was the pain became so deep that it became difficult to differentiate between whether or not I was feeling it in my chest or in my back. Evie, your camera went out. I don't know. Did the live go out? Nope, we're still live.
Oh, he's gone.
Yeah, we lost Evie. Okay. It wasn't so much. It wasn't so much stress. It was just a feeling of almost like dread that was like in a physical form, so I don't even know. I don't even know if it was all mental or if it was just a combination of, like the way of just feeling off in your chest and then, your mind not. It might have been just totally mental, but it was expressed physically. Absolutely. It was pretty terrible. Pretty frightening.
So Ryan, when did you kind of notice you changed your nutrition, and what did that look like? Like, how did you start carnivore? Like, you mentioned you're eating 3 meals a day. Like, what did those meals look like? And how long did you think it kind of took you to get to the point where you actually had recognition that, my anxiety's a little better, my depression's a little better? Like, when did you kind of physically you were aware of it?
Yeah, well, I guess I'll go through like last year, for example, I graduated from college in May. So like starting the summer, I was pretty much just red meat and fruit. And I did see a huge improvement when I got to that point. And then I started getting closer and closer to carnivore towards October. And then October, I was pretty much, the best I felt was pretty much just Lion diet. And I was doing like high fat. So I was eating like ground beef or steak and cooking steak rare, and then I had like suet I would get from my local farm, and I would like cook that up a little bit and add it to my beef. So like that, like high fat definitely made the biggest difference in eating 3 meals a day, just because I think I'm skinny and like trying to properly fuel my body. But like, yeah, that's kind of how I got started. And I think because I've tried to experiment with dairy, I've tried to experiment with a little bit of fruit, but it's just like I keep going back to that cycle because I was like addicted to fruit. Like, and of course that was really affecting my mental health, because I know that like, it can cause emotional problems, but just like not running on ketones, of course, is a thing in itself. And like, I would just nonstop consume apples, blueberries, cantaloupe was my favorite. Like, and that was just really affecting me. So like, yeah, cutting out all that stuff definitely helped a lot. And sweet potatoes.
Yeah. Well, listen, sugar is sugar. It really doesn't matter whether it comes from a Snickers, whether it comes from an apple. The body recognizes it the same, especially the older we get. When you're an adult or you're older and you have a lifeline of consuming, especially processed foods, the food companies do make them so much more palatable and addictive that the body should be able to recognize the difference between eating a fruit and a candy bar, but it can't, right? So but it still will inherently hormonally give you those same signals. And that's why there's a lot of people who thrive in a carnivore lifestyle. They'll try to go to a keto or an animal base, but those old triggers come back, right? Yeah. And then there's people who sometimes can, but usually if you look at their lifeline is they didn't have an issue with kind of sugar the way other people do. Like Stephen just kind of mentioned it. I think actually one of the biggest kind of, I say it's a criminal activity in the world is that the government and the FDA will not recognize sugar as a drug, right? Because it literally is. And so many people are in denial that they're addicted to basically sugar and carbohydrates. And the reality is we know they are, for the simple fact that they cannot give it up and they have a hard time giving it up, right? Like if you tell a person, well, just give up chocolate for a week or give up bread for a week, and if they say they can't, well, that's an addiction. It's the same thing as alcohol. Give up alcohol for a week. I can't. Well, it's an addiction, right? And The reality is they can't recognize sugar as a drug, because then literally all these food companies would have lawsuits up the wazoo for the simple fact that so many people, health issues and weight issues and mental issues are all based on basically the overconsumption of sugar and being addicted to sugar, right? Like, when I get clients that are 100, 200, 300 pounds overweight, they are literally using sugar as their dependency, their drug, and they don't even realize that. They're missing the aspect of food tasting good with food making me feel good, food making me feel euphoric, food comforting me. Food was never designed that. It irks me when I hear people say comfort food, right? Food was never designed to comfort you. That is a food science thing. It irritates me even higher when I hear, carnivore people saying this is a great carnivore comfort food, right? You're kind of losing the entire ideology about the way, our body's supposed to run. But yeah, like it's probably one of the biggest travesties basically in the world, because we literally know sugar is the devil. And I know I get heat from that all the time, but the body's requirement for sugar is literally what? 1 gram, right? The average individual's consuming a day 30, 40, 50. I don't even know the number now. It's just ludicrous.
Anymore.
Hi guys. Sorry. We had some tech issues going on.
We know the truth. You had to go pick up your kid from school, so you just stepped out, went, grabbed, came back. Imagine that.
I did too. So
I honestly wouldn't even doubt that has probably happened at some point. Like, sorry guys, I'll be back in a minute.
Well, funny joke about that, and it's non-carnivore. I used to run fitness facilities, right? We did this one promo to get members, unlimited daycare. And we would have these moms drop their kids off, and instead of going to the gym, get back in their car and go away. And we're like, where are they going? We call them. We're like, where are you going? She goes, oh, I have to go shopping. We're like, no. It's like, you got to be in the gym, right? So
yeah. People are funny.
Yeah, maybe you went and got a workout in. You're like, oh, I missed core today. I'm gonna go do some planks. How you guys talk.
Yeah. I was like, somebody was ringing my doorbell, and there was already the whole issue. I'm like, what the hell? My internet went off. And I was like, okay, something's not working. And either way,
You're back. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'm here. I immediately switched it over to my hotspot so you guys could stay on, but it wouldn't let me stream. So I'm glad that worked.
Okay, we've been going. Steven took control. It was awesome.
I could talk all day. If you don't interrupt me, I'll just talk.
Well, I don't know where you guys are or where we've been, but if it is a good time to close her down, we're more than welcome to do that as well, because I literally have no idea what you guys have been talking.
We've been kind of circling back to anxiety. We've been talking a little bit about conspiracy and corruption and collusion. We've gotten into the gambit. We've been having some fun.
Oh man, should I be worried?
No.
Yeah.
We're getting booted off.
Well, you funny you say that. Lately on TikTok and Instagram, I've been getting a lot of the warnings, the propaganda warnings, right? That my material is offensive and all this stuff. And it's funny, like, especially now on the lives, I can't reference pharmaceutical, medical, food. As soon as I do that, get the pops. And I, knock on wood, my desk, I haven't got a 30-day ban in a while on social media, but it's funny, the stronger our community gets and the more our voices get out there, it's funny how, the powers that be, if we want to talk about conspiracy, they don't like the fact, they really don't like the fact that people are waking up and they're eating more meat, they're eating more fat, they're consuming tons of salt, and they're not doing a lot of those other things, right? Because they know that, listen, the more meat, fat, and salt and sun we get, the less basically other crap we're going to eat. We're going to get leaner. We're going to get healthier, and you're going to get off meds. Like, it's literally everything is the opposite of what they want, right? And that's why I think we've seen, like everyone's mentioned it, we've seen an uptake of more doctors now talking about cholesterol, talking about how carnivore is not good, talking about the negative things of, living this type of lifestyle. But, obviously, you get into a community and you're around a lot of like-minded people, but it's just like, we all say the same thing. Where are all these people dying? Where are all these people having massive heart attacks? Right? Where are they all? Right?
Where's my scurvy?
I just got that today. Actually, it's funny, on the one post through our one group, Joey T there, it's come up a bit. He's an ex-employee of mine. He's worked for me. I know him very well. He's actually a pretty good guy. His shtick is basically to build his volume. So I made a comment of his last carnivore video, and he's asked me to always be nice because he does it to get views, right? And but the guy just messaged, well, eating a diet like that, you're going to get scurvy. And and my response was great. I'm like, dude, no offense, but I'm going to get shit for this. I said, you're 3/4 retarded. I go, we don't live in the 1700s. We're not pirates. No one gets scurvy. I haven't had one client get scurvy. I go, ironically enough, my vitamin C, if you look at my blood work over the years, was always deficient. And I was, consuming basically stuff with C, taking supplements, always deficient. A year after carnivore, I haven't had one vitamin deficiency when for 7 years in a row I took my blood work. I don't give two shits anymore, so I don't take it anymore. I did it more to prove shit to people, and I give two shits about what most people think anymore. But I just found it ironic. The majority of my adult life, eating majority of carbs and supplementing, I always had nutritional deficiencies, right? A year after carnivore with no supplements, not one deficiency when it came to vitamins and minerals, right? And I wonder how that happens, right? And actually, I learned this from Dr. Baker, because he mentioned it in a video, when you're only eating a third of your nutrition on a daily basis from meats and fats, you're not getting enough essential amino acids and enough essential fatty acids, because what happens is when you have a high amount of those, the nutrient your body needs, the amino acids will actually convert it to that nutrient. So that's literally what's happening to millions of people living our lifestyle now. If they're eating enough and their body's deficient in something, over time it literally balances up, right? And so I just love these people's scurvy. Like, every time I hear that, I just want to put a pirate hat on and sing a pirate song. Like we're not in a third world country. Like, when is the last time you heard anyone get scurvy?
Yeah.
Never mind in our lifestyle. Like, it does not happen,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And if anything, it's going to happen more in a macro-based lifestyle, because you're depleted in nutrition and it actually sucks the vitamin C out of you, right? With carbohydrates. Like, that doesn't happen in our lifestyle, right? Like, it's just crazy. I just love it. Scurvy, cholesterol, fiber, bone density.
Constipation. Where's my constipation?
Constipation. Well, you know what's hilarious?
Oh.
Osteoporosis. Calcium, calcium, calcium. You need your basically calcium. You need to consume dairy by the gallon, right? And I'm like, well, that's funny, because people consume a lot of dairy and their bone density is bad. They have osteoporosis. I've had over 40 clients, not even trying, reverse their osteoporosis going full carnivore after a year, right? And, we don't get tons of calcium, right? And those were people literally no dairy, right? And it's more based on lean muscle mass. When you have more lean muscle mass, it supports your bone density, right? And the reality is, sorry, I got fired up on this because I had another guy the other day. I love that guy with the mustache. Let's check your micronutrients, right? And he always likes doing it on carnivores. You're missing vitamins, minerals, you're missing all this stuff. And he just unblocked me, because he usually blocks me. But I'm like, I go, vitamins and minerals mean dick shit. And he's like, what are you talking about? I go, they're micronutrients. Like, if you want to do the worst research in the world, Google micronutrients. Your body requires minimal amounts. It literally requires nothing. it requires an abundance of macronutrients. Well, what are macronutrients? Amino acids, essential fatty acids. Amino acids, essential fatty acids are actually more important for you than vitamins and minerals. But vitamins and minerals are literally, the pharmaceutical, the food industry, it's their champion, right? They have to get behind something, and like, you got to basically supplement. You got to eat, you're missing all this vital nutrients from fruits and vegetables. But meanwhile, if they're a non-essential macronutrient, you don't require one. How are we missing anything? We're not, right? They concentrate so much on vitamins and minerals, and they really mean nothing, right? Even though we get a lot through meats and fats, it's more the essential amino acids that your body requires. That's why they're essential. And the essential fatty acids, that's why, like, we got to even start changing people's ideology on that. Like, you don't need them. They're not that important, right? And it's only been proven now thousands, hundreds of thousands of times. People in their blood work after carnivoring 1 or 2 or 3 years, they have no nutritional deficiencies, right? And it's because their body's literally getting everything that it needs. That's my rant. That's it. I'm done. Sorry.
You don't. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and shut us down. Sorry. Although I always thoroughly love when Joe goes on his rants, because they're so important. But I think life is having fun with me today, so probably a good time for me to close it down before anything else happens amongst the the live stream. Yeah, so yeah. Okay, guys, it has been absolutely wonderful. I have loved hearing what parts I got to be a part of. Thank you guys for carrying the show on. Thank you, Stephen, so much for making sure people knew what was going on. And we're going to go ahead and shut it down. Ryan, thank you for joining us. Hopefully you'll join us again sometime soon. And
I will. Thank you.
I'll do my best to stick around the whole time.
Ryan,
All
nice
right.
meeting you, buddy. I followed you.
Yeah,
I'm pumped to watch your journey, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's nice to talk to you guys.
Absolutely. So on that one, until next time, guys.